Well, a very good afternoon to you all, or wherever you might be listening to this webinar. Good morning to some of you, because you're listening internationally, or you might be listening on the podcast. It's Natalie Ashdown here with you, and today you can hear the sense of excitement in my voice as I welcome my long-term friend and colleague and master coach, Mel Leow, to the line with us. Welcome, Mel. Everyone can see you there. And today I'm very excited because we're going to be talking about workplace engagement and how that starts with yourself. And what better way of doing that is bringing Mel on the line to us to discuss his new book, which really opens up opportunities for us around engagement. That's the name of the book, Engage, and also opens up opportunities around self-coaching. So happy Friday to you all if you're listening to this live, and it's great to see you all on the line. Just before I begin, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners and the custodians on the lands on which we're all meeting today, and their continuing connections to the lands, the waters, the communities of Australia. We pay our respects to them and to their elders, past, present and emerging, and I extend our acknowledgement to the traditional owners of the lands on which you might be meeting, whether that's in Australia or internationally as well. So I'm going to speed things up today for you. Our agenda really is to explore the highlights of this amazing new book, Engage, by Mel Leow. Look, Mel, I've already started tabbing it up, which shows you that it's a real book because it's got all the tabs in it. We want to explore the highlights of that, but also what I was thinking is we could focus on what do we, as coaches, what does it mean for us to be doing self-coaching, and what does that then mean to how we create engagement within our workplaces? So I kind of want to direct our conversation in that way with you, Mel, but I've got some other good questions lined up for you. And as you may know, everyone on the line here, we are all about coming together every Friday to create this great community where we share learning experiences, thought-provoking conversations. If you're new to the Coaching Cafe, welcome. It's great to have you. And of course, to everyone who joins us every Friday, it gets getting up those frequent Coaching Cafe points, I think. Welcome back to you as well. If you're here because you particularly want the ICF CCEUs, we offer them free as a way of contributing back to the community. Hold on the line at the end of the session and I'll make those available to you as well. Of course, you can scan the scan code. You can follow us on social media. You know that Leo in our office would be absolutely delighted if you happen to, I don't know, screenshot, hashtag, do those things that everyone does that's modern. And Leo will be keeping an eye on that as well. So without further ado, I want to just turn off our PowerPoint now. We don't really need it. I just really want to, here we go. It's much better to see you in full screen there, Mel. And everybody, please feel free. Mel is happy to take your questions, interact with us in the chat as well, as we explore these ideas together around self-coaching and what Engage can actually help us with. So as we always do, hit the chat, hit Mel with your questions. It's a wonderful opportunity to have him on the program today. So Mel, first of all, congratulations on the book. I'm so pleased for you. And I don't feel like this is a lockdown project. I feel like this book has been coming for many, many years. You know, you've been coaching for over 15 years. We've known each other for a long time. I don't feel like this was just I think I might write a book during lockdown. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're right, Natalie. And first and foremost, thank you for inviting me here on your show. It's just a privilege to be with everybody here today on a Friday. Got your drinks ready. I mean, it's before lunchtime, but I've got my tea at least, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, you're right, Natalie. 2 years have come and gone, right? We've met each other during the break of us being able to get out of lockdown. You remember that? But it's just not enough, isn't it? And I feel like we've been robbed of engagement. You know what I mean?
Yes,
being able to really connect with people to a point that sometimes I feel like now with live sessions back with the ICF, I'm like, nah, I just want to stay back at home and catch it online or something like that. So yeah, you are absolutely right. There is this bit where we put that question mark on this. Should I not engage with that?
Yeah, so we really have to, I think the real theme I'm picking up is, and that's a theme in the book as well, it's not only how do we engage with others, but how do we engage with ourselves. So would you mind commenting, on, you've been coaching now for over 15 years, would you mind commenting in your experience on the importance of self-coaching? And feel free to jump in on the chat, everybody, about, do you do self-coaching? Do you coach yourself? Let's have a chat about that just quickly.
I'll say this as a fun fact. If you can coach, why not coach yourself? Right? So,
yes, exactly. Well, we know that, don't we? Yeah.
Right. So, but it's not the easiest thing. Right? It's like telling yourself you need to go to the dentist, right? You'll be like, nah, I'll just wait till that happens, the toothache and all that. Similar, it's a discipline. I think for me, let's just say during lockdown, right? Yes, we could connect on Zoom. That was powerful, right? Everybody jumped on Zoom and Jeans and on all kinds of platforms. But it is that, right? We are still stuck with ourselves. And so we don't learn that lesson on asking ourselves that question, right? What do you really want, Mel? Right? During this now post-pandemic, what do you really want to do? Just that one question strikes so many thoughts in my head, like, oh my gosh, I want to travel back again. I want to visit my parents in Malaysia, right? And yes, I want to go to Africa as well. As you know, Natalie, I've been in and out of Africa during the better days on Catalyst, right? I want to do all of that. But I guess if we don't have this reflective moments with ourselves, I would dare say, which is that self-coaching, asking ourselves daily questions. How has the day been? What are the lessons are we learning today at the end of the day? What are we bringing forward to the next day, right? Simple questions. It doesn't have to be really hard, like, who am I? It doesn't have to be that, but simple daily questions. Even for myself, being a parent of 3 kids, I ask myself, what better questions can I ask my eldest? And it just comes to mind, right? Every day, my youngest, Izzy, comes back from school, and if I ask him the same question, how's your day, mate? Good. And they have this very fun way of just giving you a one syllable. Sometimes just a
exactly.
So I have to put it into practice myself and even ask him, hey, what's one exciting thing that you did today, mate? Right? So that one question could strike up a wonderful conversation as he comes in through the door, right? Similar, if we were able to take some time and ask ourselves that question before we press Netflix on the telly, that may just help us to a little bit of this engagement with ourselves at the end of the day, isn't it? And it all builds up.
Oh, and I can definitely relate to exactly what you are saying there, Mel. And just let me share with you the sense, and I hope everyone else that's listening experienced this as well. As soon as so I'm excited about being here, but as soon as you ask those questions, what do I want to bring to the day? I felt this calmness come over me.
Absolutely.
And I want to actually already, because I'm working with a master coach here, I want to stop the podcast, take a minute, write down those questions. Now, of course, the questions are in the book, but I want to ask those questions. But I just felt that sense of calmness come over me when I said, those questions that are in the book around, what am I grateful for? What do I want to bring to this day? How do I want to show up today? Is that what we're talking about when we really talk about self-coaching, engaging with ourselves so that we can be better coaches, better leaders, do you think?
Yeah, it starts with that, isn't it? We can't stop the narratives that are happening in our head. Let me just say that, right?
That is true. Yeah.
It's continuous, right?
Mm.
It's like if I trigger it and say, hey, it's almost lunchtime and you are here, right? So that would trigger something else. It's just a comment. But imagine if we ask the question, right? What do you want to achieve by the end of lunch? Simple as that, right? Because we could just scroll, and if we are eating alone, and I sometimes do eat alone, right? And I'm just chewing down my sandwich and just scrolling on my phone as usual, right? As usual. And that's what I say in the book, where we're caught in this default nature, right? We're just going round the merry-go-round, and it just seems like a different day, but it's actually the same. And we're doing things that are the same almost every day. And we get a little bit numb to the fact that, shall we not break this pattern? It's pretty comfortable, right? Hey, I would love to scroll whole day long, right? Just looking at funny videos and checking up on the news, what's happening in different parts of the world, and so on and so forth, right? But is that going to value add to my engagement with myself, and hence my growth, right? My growth of what I'm doing with the time intentionally with me? Because if I'm not going to work with myself, I think my responses to the people outside of me, including my spouse and my children, I think going to be the same every day. Because if I don't start shifting these little movements of shifts every day, those outside conversations will remain the same as well. So I believe that we've got to start taking those tiny baby steps each day intentionally, even during lunch, and say, okay, 15 minutes of scrolling. Now, what would I want to get out of my lunch? Maybe something that will give to my soul, you know. I could even do a quick meditation right after lunch. Why not? So yeah, it's just these thoughts that we can bring in. Yes, we call it self-coaching, but I'd like to say that it's a bit like us reflecting through our narratives, and so that our narratives can be rethought and relived in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that centering, and
Yeah,
that if I'm just scrolling, I'm not really engaged. In fact, I'm probably doing that to disengage
it's
rather
true.
than engage. So it actually, from what you're saying, Mel, brings us back into who we are, back into our bodies, back into our center, so we can be high performing in whatever role we might be performing in our, as a spouse, as a partner, um, as a business leader, as a coach, whatever those roles might be.
Yeah, absolutely, Natalie. Yeah.
And Mel, what do you think then is the link between I mean, I can feel it already, and thank you. Lisa has mentioned the energy as well. Thanks for jumping in there. What do you think about that link between our engagement? So we are engaged, showing up fully present, and the link to workforce, the workplace, and high performance as leaders, as coaches.
Yeah, that's a great question, because the research that I quote at the start of the book is the Gallup research on millennials, right? And we note that 29% of millennials are actually engaged. Now, what about the rest? That's a huge percentage that are either or like, okay, a little bit engaged, but not fully engaged. And the fun fact is this again, we're still doing yearly engagement studies to find out, pulse check, where are we with this, without actually going down to that point and saying, what are we understanding with this? how are our quality of conversations in the workplace? And I think it starts there, isn't it? Relationships are only as strong as the conversations that are happening, right? Anywhere you go. So let's talk work here, right?
Mm.
If you think about your best peer at work, you can immediately think about the wonderful conversations that you've had, not just over lunch, but on the side, walking with this person, going to the water cooler. You know, I love how you often say it, Natalie. It's those water cooler moments that actually bring about those little bit of that shifts, right? Those changes, right? It's how are we attempting these little moments at work, not the big ones, and saying, I'm going to shift as a leader. I'm going to move from an autocratic leader to a more servant leader. You know? It's like, hey, that's fantastic, but that's going to be a huge jump over the valley, right? So we've got to take little steps along the way and say, hey, let's think about it. What are some of those difficult conversations we're having in the workplace, right? Not so nice ones. Let's leave the nice ones alone. They're probably nice because you like them and they like you. Okay. But the ones that are on like in the middle, it's like, I just got to work with you because you're in that department that I need to engage with, right? So, hi, you know, we put on this facade, and just because we want something out of that relationship, we're somewhat a little bit more open to even share information, right? But think about this. If you and I can spot the weasel,
yes, indeed.
we can spot someone coming from afar saying, is this person genuine? Is this person really wanting to have a conversation with me, right, Natalie? Right? Because if I've been asked a question, this is the test, right? If I've been asked, mate, how's your day? How's your weekend, mate? And I say, yo, wow, I watched the footy, and they're like, change subject, right? They're going to just move on to something else. Then I know, hey, that wasn't really genuine. You're just going with the motion, right? So,
yeah, and I see that link between if we are engaged in what we're doing and how we show up, then that is actually going to help with those conversations, isn't it? So we're not showing up as this kind of inauthentic, and not that anyone on the line would hear, Mel. Let's make that clear.
Definitely not.
But you do hear those kind of conversations going on. So if we are more engaged, then we can create that engagement and connection, which you're actually talking about.
Yeah, Natalie, that reminds me of my conversations with the people that I work with, right? My clients, the great leaders that you and I work with, and they would be really open to us, right? They would be like, yeah, because when we ask, how's work, and who at work are you really engaged with? And of course, that flip side of the question is, who are you really not really engaged with, right? So when we get to that point, we realize that often a lot of the pains in the organization, or at least with this leader, it's often related to the disengagement that they're having with certain groups, certain individuals, and even certain subordinates that they're working with, that they're facing a hard time. They don't know how to truly be themselves in front of these guys, right? And so that's the conversation that we're having, right? And we're asking them to explore, right? Because that's the most difficult points, right? We're like, when we were faced with going to the dentist, right? We're not comfortable at all. We've got to get used to the fact that we've got to do regular checkups, right? I'm not pushing everyone to go to the dentist. Don't worry. Okay. I have not as well.
Yes.
So it's, but just an example, right? It's about that face to face, it's facing the giants that we so want to avoid, right? I call that the gremlins in the book, right? We have gremlins in our life. And if you remember the movie Gremlins, when we start feeding the wrong gremlins, it grows, right? And one of those gremlins could be even how we respond, how we choose to respond to others, right? In a respectful, accepting, open way, right? And so when we're working with our coaches, we're helping them understand what is happening inside of them when they are engaging with this person. And the best part of it is they start getting this new aha moments, right? They're like, yeah, I know I'm avoiding this because, and they're coming out with those answers themselves. So it comes back to the point that if we can self-coach ourselves through that, it's the same thing. It's like having a coach on the side in our pocket, right? Being able to ask ourselves those questions at the right time, and yet sometimes even at the painful ones. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's so many questions that are coming up for me from what you've offered there, Mel. And as you say, it comes back to that engagement, within ourselves and how we coach people around that as well. So then that influences how they show up. And I'm thinking about the concept of ikigai that you talk about a lot in the book.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with us what, because people might have heard about, but do you want to share with us, about ikigai and what that means in terms of our
Sure.
coaching, but the impact on engagement and how we coach people? That's a stacked question, by the way, but that's what I'm thinking.
No. It's a great question. I don't claim to be an expert in ikigai. I mention it because I've used it on myself. Now, that's one of those things, right? If I've not used anything of those things I'm mentioning in the book, I will not put it in the book because I've done it myself. And so I remember my time when I had to dig in and explore about my purpose, right? So I can't remember the year, but it was a couple of years ago when I had the time. I had one full month to myself. And you know this, I used to travel back and forth to Asia, right? And I had this 1 month to myself, and I thought, hey, kids are not around, wife's not around, so I'm going to spend this time really understanding what I really want for my life. And I went through this process, right? And the ikigai is just the start of it, but there's this whole process behind it to come up with these statement of what I stand for and what I believe and what I want to impact the world with. And so that's what the ikigai is all about, right? It's your internal compass, your internal line that excites you, that gives you this energy that we're talking about in this call, right? And that's what you're gonna, that's the alarm clock that you have on a daily basis. You don't need the physical alarm clock because this now wakes you up, right? My line is these 3 words. It's like when you trigger it in me, anytime someone says that, I'll be like, oh, that's my word, right? It's just 3 simple words. It may not mean much to you, but it means so much to me. And that's the depth of how this means to me. So it's 3 words: is live, be, brave, right? Live for me, it's about choosing. So it's a choice, right? It's a choice to live and not to choose the other way. And I could choose to complain. I can choose to say all those things about what's happening in the world and to me and la, 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 la. But I choose just to live each day because each day just gives me this gift every single day. And I choose to live. Be is an amazing, powerful word for me because it reminds me, Natalie, to not just be a doer because I'm quite a doer myself, right? It's like saying, hey, hang on, just be, Mel. And that brings me back to center, right? Just as I say that, just now.
Mm.
It's like, be, Mel. Okay, just be. So I don't have to prove anything to anyone anymore. I used to, Natalie. I used to want to prove that I could be this and, achieve my MCC. And so the world could applaud me and say, hey, wow, you are one in whatever. Today, I'm just saying, hey, Mel, just be, right? And the third word, brave. I've been very fearful on lots of things. One of them was to even start my own business. I can tell you the truth, right? That was like 12 years ago now. You can see how deep this is. Because when I told my family that I wanted to start a business, I had all these voices come in, right? And just say, you didn't see your uncle fail. You didn't see this happen to this other business. Mel, come on. You've got a growing family. You've got to be in this cycle where you get your bonus waiting for you every year in February. And I'm like, thank you. It's like, and so this word brave just challenges me to come out from that shell and say, Mel, you don't have to jump out of the plane every day to prove that you're brave. But you've got to get out of your door, just your door first, and then get out from your house, and then get out into that coffee place and meet that person. Get out, and you know what I mean? It's just one step at a time, just one step at a time. So that ikigai is your words. Everyone's going to have these 3 words, one statement. It doesn't have to be 3 words like me. It could be just one line. But every single day you are reminded that this is what I'm living for. This is what I'm waking for. And this is what I am excited to be part of this day. It's like every day is this gift waiting to be given, not just to you, but you have a gift that you can choose to keep it or you can choose to bring it along with you and just say, hey, I'm going to give you this gift today. It's like when I visit any coffee shop, I'm reminded that the barista serving me has probably been serving another 150 people before me. And I'm going to remind myself and say, can you give your best smile to this person? And if this person is wearing a name tag, you're just going to mention this person's name. Carla, thank you. This looks so amazing. Have a wonderful day. Just that little thing is going to brighten up someone else's day. So that's the gift I'm thinking of just being a little bit brave for me. That's my word, right, Mel? Everywhere you go, what is that little bit of brave you can offer to your world out there? Like I'm on this call right now, and I truly want to speak to everyone here. You are the most important person listening in. And what is that purpose that you're living for every single day that will cause you to not just get excited, but to sometimes even ask yourself, what gives you a little bit of a tear? What breaks your heart? What causes you discomfort? What causes you to be overjoyed? These are powerful words. When you realize that, it's just like for my wife. Whenever my wife sees an older person walking across the road, she stops and I could see her, right? She's just looking at this person crossing the road. And I know if we stopped our car, she would be just right next to this person saying, hey, let me help you across.
Yeah.
So I can talk forever on this, but Natalie, I'm just going to step back and just give that space back to you. And I know you want to say something here.
No, I think I'm like everybody. The questions you ask, Mel, like they're so powerful, you know, and I want to actually re-listen to the webinar, write them down, and reflect on those questions. I think that's what you've given us the opportunity to do. You know, what are our 3 words? And I think that as we show up with those 3 words, you know, you feel that energy around you, and that then builds on the engagement, not within ourselves, but then within the workplace as well. So no, I don't want to say anything, actually. I just want to kind of bask in this coaching space that you've actually created for us. So thank you. And there's lots of comments coming in on the chat, you know, about being brave and you know, making small actions. And Lisa there said, you know, small actions like, you know, we always keep the good glasses for when the visitors come, but I use the good glasses every day. And I'm like, yes, why am
That's so good.
why am I
Lisa.
keeping these things inside us or around us? Why am I putting them on the shelf for a special occasion, as opposed to bringing that on a day-to-day basis, which I think is what you're inspiring us to think about.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I'll just see if there's any other comments coming through here. Someone's mentioned the song Brave by Sarah Barra. So we'll have to look that one up. Bareilles. So we can look that up. Let me just, I know we're right on time, but if anyone's got any other questions you would like to ask of Mel, please jump into the chat and we can continue our conversation. And of course, we can continue our conversation offline as well. Yeah. So these topics that you're talking about, the ikigai, the finding our purpose, being brave about our purpose. The book even has a chapter on all of these topics. And what I like about it is at the end of each chapter, you actually get us to sign that we're prepared to do this. And I must tell you, I haven't signed it. I haven't signed mine because I've tabbed it all up, but I don't want to mess up the book. But I think this book is also one that you might read like I did, read it through. And then it's a book that you've got to sit down and actually engage with each chapter and think about, how am I showing up with all of these wonderful ideas and chapters you've given us. So brave is one. There's so many things that we can actually really sit down and engage with.
Absolutely. I'd like to just say as we close, right? The start of the book, the first chapter is engage your vision, because I feel that, you know, everyone that we work with as coaches, right? We've got to start at how they are going to see their life through. It's like what Stephen Covey said, right? Start with the end in mind, right? It's so powerful, right? And that vision will help them forward. The last book as the anchor of the book is engage your happy. Because at the end of the day, that's what, you know, we are after in life. And I was just reading up on happy again, right? Because I'm often researching on different things, and of course those stuff that is on the book, and maybe even coming up with the next version of the book. But that word happy, there's a deeper sense of it. It's not just this flippant feeling that, or thought that we have, oh, I'm just going to be happy when I take care of my super and my retirement funds and this and that, I'll be super happy. And you realize, the people that gets, being a lucky person winning the lottery, what happens?
They're still not happy for it.
1 year. 1 year. It takes just 1 year. Research has shown this just takes 1 year, and then they're back to square one. They probably had a crazy 1 year, but they're back to being unhappy again. So
how do we engage that happy within ourselves?
Absolutely. So there you go. It is that meaning.
Thank you.
The meaning of happy for each one of us is so diverse, and we've got to find that meaning of happy for us. And some
Well, thankfully, you've written a chapter on it in the book that we can actually read over and over until and reflect on and do that self-coaching, which you're really encouraging. So I should be a better host. I should have a screenshot that says, "How can we buy the book?" Can you just tell it to us?
Sure.
www.
No, you can go to my website, coachmelleow.com/engage. And you can get all the stuff that you want to know about the book there. Or you can just hop on to Amazon. And, if obviously people living here and listening in Australia, you can go to amazon.com.au and you can find a book on Amazon. You can get...
and do we type in best book in the world and it'll just come up? I think that's...
best friend to Natalie. Yeah, maybe we'll find something.
It'll come up, absolutely. So we will wrap up now, Mel, but thank you for sharing with us how we can get a copy of the book. And as I said, I haven't actually signed all the agreements in the book because it is something I need to actually sit down with, and work through the beautiful questions and the beautiful chapters you've got for us. So thank you for bringing this book to us and to the world. And can I just say, I don't want to end on this note, but if you, Mel, are experiencing sharp pain in your chest, like you talk about in the book, if I hear about that, mate, you are in big trouble if you do not take action. Because I read that about the book and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And the mother and the friend and the colleague and the mate in me just went, if I hear about that next time, you're in big trouble.
Don't worry, it's all settled now. That was my impetus to getting myself active into running and all of that. My 10,000
engage
steps.
your health. Yeah, that's part of what you talk about. Yeah, fantastic. So I'm not finishing on that. Mel, thank you for your time. Everyone's giving you a lot of props there on the
Thank you.
on the website. And if you want to connect with Mel, please go to Coach Mel Leow.com. Is that right? Yeah, and you can pick up the book and connect with him as well. So for those of you that are interested, we do have the Cert 4 program coming up. We've got Leader as Coach coming up. And if you'd like to hold on the line just for a little bit longer, I can put up our CCU for you as well. Mel, thank you for your time. We could talk and everyone just... we just want to write down all those questions you've asked. That's why I need to listen to the webinar again. And of course, people can pick it up on our podcast or the blog on our website as well. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me on this. Yeah, and I wish I could see everybody and engage with you. And because I'm such a kinesthetic person, I would give you a virtual hug right now and say, hey, or a high five and say, thank you for being here. Continue to engage your life because it means so much to your world when you are engaged. Yeah.
Thank you. And we're feeling all the connection through the energy you've given us, Mel. So,
Thanks,
and the reflections that you've offered. So wonderful. Well, thanks everybody. As I always say, happy Friday if you happen to be listening to this live. And if you're not listening to this live, happy day to you or happy evening. Most importantly, enjoy your coaching. And as Mel has said, let's all reflect on how we can engage over the course of the next week. So I'll say goodbye for now.